What's up? How's everybody doing? I'm going to go listen to myself, make sure it's working. How do I do that? Back it up, click on that. Hey, it's working. Cool. All right. I'm going to turn this. I guess you'll see my shitty hallway there, but that's all right. Maybe I could undo this. I just want to make sure I'm sort of looking at y'all while I read this. Zooming it up so it's a little easier to read. By the way, welcome back. I'm Jeff Richardson, aka El Jefe Tacoma. You know all of that. I do a podcast called Everything is Awesome. So if for some reason you're listening to this episode instead of earlier ones, you can always read how I read them on that podcast. I think I'm up to like chapter 17 or 18 on there. Yeah. Or you could go back to these YouTube ones. They're good too. The rest of you have seen all these probably, so I'm just going to get right into it. Chapter 41, Sophris. Sophris worked in absolute silence. He'd made his way down to the cells. It was easy given that every man in the place was dead. The stink of evil hovered over each body, as if their murderer had spat out what was left of their dark souls onto their devastated forms. As Sophris was knocking on a cell door, Portillion had stumbled out. From there, it was an easy process of finding the car keys and dragging Portillion to safety. Sophris wondered as they went what could have caused such mayhem. He scrolled through his mental database, using astral awareness to tap into the collected wisdom of his race. It was a demon of some sort, obviously. The murders were distinctive, but he'd need to know more if he was to fully identify the perpetrator. Once Portillion had recovered, Sophris planned to integrate with his subconscious to pick up any clues Portillion may have missed. The drive back to the shipyard was easy. With the rain and the holiday, they were calling it Hero Day in honor of Grundle's selfless life. They were calling it Hero Day in honor of Grundle's selfless life-saving act. The streets were largely deserted. Sophris used his far sight to plot the fastest course. Someone was following him. Someone who was keeping pace, as if they knew in advance where he was headed. He suspected who it could be, but he reserved judgment. Whoever it was would not take Portillion again. Sophris was prepared to lay down his life for the man. Such was the obligation of a Mistral towards their bonded companions. It was the primary reason he had only bonded to Ayanna and Portillion. Too many of such bonds can be taxing for the soul. He was already being drawn to find Creel, and the man was a ghost. With Ayanna gone completely, Sophris felt like he'd lost two arms. He would keep Portillion close for as long as he could. Clearly, Portillion had been tortured. Sophris hoped that he hadn't revealed anything that might endanger the heroes. But truthfully, there wasn't much Portillion could have told them that they didn't already know. If he knew where the statue went, or why those seeking it were so willing to kill to reach it, the information was buried too deep. As the sedan rolled into the parking lot, the gate guard waved him through. His mental power was more than enough to fool a simple guardsman, and he was driving the vehicle of a high level officer. Sophris made certain that the information inputted. It's a fucked up sentence. Sophris made certain that the information inputted into the system was incorrect. No reason to leave a paper trail. They'd find the vehicle soon enough. A crowd of reporters had encircled the fueling area. The side hatch of the Horus was open and the ramp extended. Through the crowd, Sophra spied Through the crowd, Sophra spied a small Avandi-owned shuttle, the blue feather logo gleaming on its side. Grundle was aboard the ship, clearly. Someone else was joining them as well, a Thermopolian ship captain. He was a typical Thermer, empty-headed and full of false bravado. He was a war hero, however, so perhaps he would make an effective leader of their ragtag crew. Let's try that one more time. He was a war hero, however, so perhaps he would make an effective leader of their ragtag crew. Sophris made it to the yard undetected, save for his silent pursuer, but the tricky part would be getting Portillion onto the ship. Sophris couldn't trust the others to keep the boy's presence a secret, at least not until they were light years away from this nightmarish place. That one's pretty straightforward. You get a little world building with the Mistral business. Um, Sophris is pretty good at obscuring his movements. Um, it would suggest, as I was reading it, it kind of suggests that even though he's a returner, he still doesn't want to get caught murdering folks or whatever. He's very light on his feet, leaves no trace. 42. Ayana. Finally. She'd been waiting to be summoned to the temple for days. Her mother was insufferable, parading her from social gathering to photo opportunity with relish. Ayana felt like a brand new diamond necklace instead of a daughter. The summons had come in the form of an elaborate teak chest carted by two housemen. Inside the chest were a packet of fine spices, expensive inks from Gillimoria, and an elaborately filigreed silver urn, once used to hold holy water in the temple's central sanctuary. It also contained a short letter praising Ayana's mother for her continued support and sacrifice. What a joke. Spend enough money and apparently the temple will absolve you for any Spend enough money and apparently the temple will absolve you for any crime, not the least of which was completely neglecting your children's emotional needs. It's a little editorial because it's in the third person. I might end up changing this to thought, but anyway. Not the least of which was completely neglecting your children's emotional needs. Her mother was ecstatic. Ayana wouldn't be surprised if she framed the note and took it around to parties. Ayana wouldn't be surprised if she framed the note and took it around to parties, rather than Ayanna, if only. Darling, you have been summoned to the temple. It appears they're ready to have you climb the ladder of power. I trust you are up to the challenge. She set the note down on her desk and rose to her feet, turning to face the vast window facing the city. I want to change this. She set the note. It needs down. I feel like down and on are too many uh, prepositions next to each other. And then I say, turning to face the vast window facing the city, maybe turning toward the vast window. I'm not sure. The vast window facing the city. The windows revealed the main reason why the stargazers had chosen this rock up on fuck. The windows were the main no, it does reveal. The windows revealed the main reason why the stargazers had chosen this rock on which to build their mansion. It stood head and shoulders above every other house on the hill, besides Castle Valancourt, of course, and the windows were the jewel in the crown. The price of each pane was enough to feed a Calustrian family for a year. Ayanna's great-grandfather had spent the money knowing full well the image that they would provide. One step into the room, and you knew the stargazers were true players. The spires of the city seemed like toys from up here, the citizens like miniature ants. The sky burst yellow and red in a vast arc, with nothing to block the view in three directions. When Madame Stargazer looked out those windows, she appeared like the goddess of war herself, which, given the nature of their business, would be apt. If one were to peer through the impeccably designed gilded telescope, one would see bits of artillery in the far-off mountains, rocket platforms dotted around the city, gyros and light fighters keeping the peace, and guns of every size and shape mounted on personnel carriers and slung over the shoulders of soldiers, police officers, and assorted guards, all bearing the insignia of House Ferrul. She was power, and she made sure everyone knew it. She looked back at her daughter, a cruel smile. Fuck. She looked back at her daughter, a cruel smile on her painted face. Go, bring honor to your house. May the goddess. Sorry, my stomach was rumbling. Go, bring honor to your house. May the goddess guard your path. Ayanna left without a word. Goddess, how she hated her. How she hated her. That's always weird when you're trying to differentiate a pronoun, and the people have the same pronoun. It's like, would she say goddess she hated her mother or her? I feel like that has more. Yeah, I'll have to work on that one. Chapter 43. Joran. Joran took a breath. He didn't think he'd missed her this much. Thraxis had been a bit of a pompous dandy, but he sure knew how to design a spacecraft. She even smelled great. Joran looked behind him to see Grundle hauling up some cargo on a sled and shouted, "Oi! It's good to be back, eh?" Grundle nodded, his neck muscles bulging with the weight of the sled. Joran walked into Joran walked into the hold and threw his bags down. He slumped bodily onto a gun case and started pulling off his boots. He winced as Torvald and his cameraman nudged in past Grundle. Joran, seriously? Joran couldn't understand why Torvald was so often perplexed by his behavior. He hadn't changed in 40 years, so why start now? Fish, I'm 59 years old. I can't take a second. Besides, why do you want to shoot in the fucking cargo hold anyway? Torvald's face was blank. Because it's rustic. He waved around as if showing off the interior of a mountain cabin. It's real. This is space travel, not that boring cruise ship nonsense everyone is used to. Everyone with money, you mean? Joran tossed one boot aside. Fine. Shoot all you want. I'm taking my fucking boots off. He pulled a pouch from his vest. Smoke? The camera guy, Ariel, set down the camera and came over. Torvald sighed and looked around, as if Grundle might give him some sympathy. Grundle pushed the sled into position and locked it down. Then he slid to the base and sighed. The hold creaked as his butt hit the floor. The ramp began to close. Across the floor, the elevator door opened. Joran smiled. Torvald waved at the cameraman to start shooting. Numerius, how the hell are you? Joran was genuinely excited to see him. Nim strode over and shook everyone's hand, exchanging pleasantries. He handed out water bottles from a shoulder bag and sat down next to Joran. How you been, buddy? Numerius had dressed up for the occasion. He looked like a real Zentrides ship captain, crisp and polished. His hair was freshly oiled, giant braids swirled up in an impressive bun/ponytail. Joran took a swig. To be honest, I'm just glad to be alive. He waved at Ariel to stop rolling. He leaned in close. They killed the captain, Nim. If the Avandi and I didn't have history, the rest of us might have been killed as well. This shitty assignment is the only reason any of us are leaving this hellhole. Numerius's teeth whistled as he took in a breath. He was shaken by the news, clearly, but also relieved. As Joran patted him on the shoulder, he felt his muscles loosening. Joran's voice was both hard and gentle. A neat trick. We'll get through this. I promise you. All right. Should I do one more or should I let's see. Was that Nare 509? Is that Jose? I'm not sure. Well, I guess I'll stop. I'll start another one here in a minute. Thanks for listening. Once again, check out Everything is Awesome and all my other shows, The War for the Tower, Something Wonderful Right Away, which is coming back with a big new season. We've been rehearsing forever. It's a tight unit. It's so good. It's a long form improv show based on the Herald. And this latest episode is a musical, and it is fucking delightful. Also, Good Idea with Aiden, Ray, and George. That's a more of a short form, more gamey improv show. And it's like advice, design, philosophy. It's so cool. I should here. Is this my camera? I was looking down at myself. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll get at you next time. What do I say at the end of these things? Is it like I think it's, do I say peace? Yeah. Um, Here we go. Peace.